don't unacceptable. And matter of fact, let me change the space because that's really the problem, bro. It is okay to admit that today's NBA players are better than what they were in yesteryear. It is okay. Like it's fine because it's a fact. It's okay. And hold on, let me change this shit because I don't understand like why people are pushing back on things just to rewrite history, just to have a I got you moment, or sit there and like try to like prove someone wrong when it's an irrefutable fact that in today's game the average player is just better than what they were before. There's no denying that. I don't understand why that's a hard concept for the community to understand. The average player in today's game is better than the average player in yesteryear. To the people who hear that and immediately say, "Oh, does that mean that Larry Bird couldn't come in today's game?" No, that's not what that means. It's not what that means. You should probably stop being emotional and listen to what I am saying. It means that the average player in today's game is better. The competition is better. The talent, the skill is better. Today's NBA is better than any other era. It's better. And that's not really even a knock. It's not really a knock. It's not meant to be a knock, or at least when I say it, it's meant to be a knock. It's acknowledging that as time progresses, things evolve. That is a concept that everybody understands. But for whatever reason, in the NBA, people push back on this commonality that we know exists. So it started, and what's crazy is that people are giving JJ Redick flack, but not even putting everything into context that is being said. Because we also do this thing where people romanticize the past and they don't put things in its proper context of what actually occurred in NBA history. So it all started when JJ Redick and Mad Dog Russo were having a debate about Chris Paul. And Mad Dog Russo was not only on television disrespecting Chris Paul, which is so weird to me that it's common for people to disrespect today's players. And he was doing it by literally lying. He was saying things that were not true, that JJ Redick had to check him on. He was actively lying about things. Actively lying. And then JJ Redick, and then literally said he started rambling off point guards. And then stumbled across Bob Cousy. Just a quick sidebar. Majority of people who are not like in the NBA or who are not like 80 or 90 years old, they weren't watching Bob Cousy play basketball. Even the people who are 80 and 90 years old, the odds of them watching Bob Cousy on any frequent basis is slim to none because the way that they covered basketball at that time, it was hard for people to actually watch it consistently. So when you have people who say, "Well, I watch Bob Cousy," the same fucking games that we can watch on YouTube are the same things that they were watching. So that's there. There's that. So let's get that in the way. Secondly, in secondly, and most importantly, when discussing Bob Cousy and Chris Paul, Mad Dog Russo then continued to slam Chris Paul for things that either A are out of his control or B were very reasonable expectations for him to lose. And oh yeah, just in case people are wondering, well maybe they saw highlights back then. No, ESPN didn't start existing until the 80s. That's when the ESPN existed. So no, there was no ESPN. Maybe if you lived in Boston, there was local news and they may play highlights there, but that's it. So then if Mad Dog Russo, and we do this thing as well in the NBA community, where it is just viewed as acceptable for people to come on television and just lie about current players and the things that they accomplish to literally, utterly disrespect them. But then, if somebody says Bob Cousy played with plumbers, oh, well, that's out of bounds. No, it's not. It's a fact. It is an irrefutable fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. He played with plumbers, firemen. That is a fact. Sidebar, because I know the people who also say this have never actually done their due diligence to actually understand what was occurring in the 50s. Just go back and listen to Bob Cousy's story. He himself will tell you he didn't take basketball serious before he entered the NBA. There were not there he himself, like, the concept of being an NBA player at that time was so new that nobody who was in the NBA during the 50s really took it that serious. He himself will tell you that. But if I were to say these things to big up Bob Cousy in that era of basketball, hey man, those guys back then, they were so dedicated to the game that they were willing to pick up a side job just to stay afloat so they can stay in the game, and they're so passionate. And if I were to put it in that terms, oh, I'm right. But if I were to say, well, no, they were playing plumbers back then, oh, I'm out of bounds and I'm wrong. Both are true. Both are true. They're both true. And because of these sacrifices, and because of the growth of the game that has developed to where we are right now, yes, it is true that players do not no longer have to play basketball. They don't have to have side jobs. But that also means, because they don't have to have side jobs, guess what? That means that you can produce players in today's games that are just, the standard is going to be significantly higher than what it once was. That is not a difficult concept to grasp. I don't know why people are fighting against that. That is not a difficult concept at all. It's not. Furthermore, in the point that I don't know why, I guess everybody loves the politic, but I'm not fucking politicking. Bro, Bob Cousy played in segregation ball. Stop telling me, oh, well, he played with Bill Russell. Yeah, Bill Russell and them came in the NBA in the late 50s and early 60s. Jerry West himself, when he came in the 60s, Jerry West himself said in the quote, he didn't really play with Bob Cousy that long because they didn't. They played in the NBA together for like 3 or 4 years. Majority of Bob Cousy's career was during the 50s when they were not allowing black people to play. And then even when they allowed them, there was a stipulation that was set in place that you had to spend at least 2 years in college. Mind you, Brown versus Board of Education was still going on and did not conclude until the mid 50s. So it was difficult for black people to have proper education for them to actually fit the requirements for them to go on to play in the NBA. And how many players at that time, how many people at that time we're going to go through everything that came trying to beat the racial the racial structure and the racial biases that were happening in the NBA, just for them to have a fucking basketball job where they still might have to go on and have another part-time job on top of that. I'm gonna do all I can to beat racial constructs just so I can play basketball and then go out and have to do another job on top of that? No. Or I'm going to play basketball so I can go put on a show for these white people so they can yell racial slurs at me the other day? No. If you don't believe me, Bill Russell says it as well. Bill Russell was drafted by the Hawks. He refused to play with them because how racist the city was. He was not going to play for them. He was drafted a year or two before he actually came into the league. So no, there are not an abundance of black people, even when they actually when they changed the rule. Bob Cousy spent a huge portion of his career playing segregation ball. And if you're going to tell me, oh, he played with Bill Russell or he played against Oscar Robertson, that's like me saying Tim Duncan played against Giannis. Technically, it's true, but it would be a disingenuous argument for me to bring it up knowing that they only played in the NBA for a finite amount of years. That would be dumb. That's dumb. Another thing that needs to be understood, especially because I just got my PC, and I was gonna make a video about this when it was happening, but I don't know why my PC was bugging. That's the reason why I wasn't able to stream, because that my second PC is the way I stream and record on my second channel. The amount of people, again, once more, it just blows me away. The amount of people, and again, this is going back to disrespecting today's players, who are saying, oh, Draymond, oh man, look at him talking basketball. He has a podcast. Oh, he didn't really get his head in the game, man. Oh man, he's out. He has a podcast. He's so worried about the podcast. So let's get this clear. Draymond, who went out to win a championship, who had 3 championships before this, so we already knew what it took to win championships, needs guidance on how to focus. And the level of criticism that you are giving him, let me get this clear now, is him going home, or going to a hotel room and talking basketball. But if he gets done with the game and he talks basketball with the mainstream media, that's fine. But if he goes home and does it, oh no, he's so out of focus, so out of whack. What the fuck are y'all talking? What are y'all talking about? But then if I say, hey, to Cedric Maxwell and to Isaiah Thomas, who played in the 70s and 80s, you probably should have been telling your teammates who was on fucking cocaine after games to shut the fuck up and focus. I'm out of bounds if I say that. Y'all worried about a podcast where a man is talking about basketball after a game when your teammates were fucking high off of cocaine after games. Hey, but I'll be out of pocket if I said that. Magic Johnson running around doing God knows what in every strip club in LA. I'm out of bounds if I say that. The drug problem got so rampant in the NBA that David Stern was willing to lose stars, valuable stars, kick them out of the NBA. I'm out of bounds if I say that. Michael Jordan is gambling. He's fucking gambling after games, staying up to God knows who. But Michael Jordan does it. It's a part of his legacy. Oh man, MJ's so good, man. He get done beating up on us Knicks, and then go to Atlantic City, go gambling same night, man. He's so good. What the fuck? What are we talking about? Dennis Rodman in the middle of a series can't do it no more, man. I gotta go to Las Vegas. I gotta get away. But that becomes a part of his legacy. For today's players and Draymond, it's a part of how we criticize them. That doesn't make any sense to me, especially when we know today's players are better. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially when we know in today's game, players are way more aware of their physical ability than they were back then.
Yesteryear, even though we know they don't do anything as crazy. And on top of that, we know that they are better. What is the problem? FYI, I don't agree with everything JJ Redick said. I don't agree with cross comparison errors. You compare players of their own errors. Because that right there would be completely unfair. That's crazy. You compare players of their own era. But even when we do that, like I said in the video on my second channel, even when we do that, again, Bob Cousy wasn't as great as y'all probably think he was. I know many of you all haven't done the due diligence, but just go look at Bob Cousy's efficiency, his field goal percentage, in contrast to the league's field goal percentage. Hey, Lo, that's unfair. He was a guard. It was a bunch of big men. Go compare Bob Cousy's field goal percentage to the other guards at that time as well. Especially if you're going to sit here and say that he played with Jerry West and Oscar Robertson, go compare Bob Cousy's field goal percentage to Jerry West and Oscar Robertson. Go do that then. Since you want to say that they were in the same era, go do it. You will quickly realize that it wasn't that unheard of for a guard to shoot 40% or better from the field. We can't even say he was playing the best talent of his era because there were no black people in the 50s, or very few of them. But as soon as black people came in the NBA, go look at Oscar Robertson. Again, a guard. Go look at the numbers he was posting up. Go look at Hal Greer. Go look at them. Go look at what they were doing in the 60s when black people started to come into the NBA. Go look at the numbers Wilt Chamberlain was posting up, and Nate Thurman and Bill Russell to players of prior years. Go look it up. If you don't believe me, just go look it up. If you don't say that, look at the league average. Go look at the league average from the mid to late 50s to the 60s. The field goal percentage shot up like 4 or 5% in like a 5-year span. Some shit that you will never ever see. Points were going up like exponentially. Go look it up. If you don't believe me, just go look it up. Everything across the board increased. Cousy, if you go look at all the years in which he led the league in assists, average them out. It's around 8 assists a game. As soon as the 60s came around, never, ever, ever throughout NBA history could you have led the league in assists with 7 or 8 assists. You could never have done it again. Oscar Robertson comes in, Hal Greer comes in, essentially black players come in. You could never ever do it. That's something that could never have been done before. Never. And also, just side note, especially when the criticism that was being placed upon Chris Paul was during the postseason, and everybody was Mad Dog Russo was criticizing Chris Paul because he had not won a champ. He hadn't won a championship, and he had questionable playoff performances. Just go look at Bob Cousy's box scores. Just go look at how Bob Cousy was losing in the playoffs routinely. Mind you, at that point in time, all you had to do was win 5 games, and you were going to be in the NBA Finals. 5 to 7 games, you were going to be in the NBA Finals, because back then there were not enough teams for you to have 3 rounds, then the finals. All you had to do is win 5 or 7 games. Bob Cousy could not win 5 to 7 playoff games without Bill Russell. He couldn't do it. He was in the NBA for several years, never, ever, ever, ever could do it. He could never do it. These are facts, and it's a part of our history. And it's and in all honesty, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just the irrefutable facts. But stop trying to rewrite history for the sake of just saying it because oh man, you're really disrespecting. I'm not disrespecting nothing. If anything, you would be disrespecting all the players in the NBA at that time who had to overcome racial barriers to put themselves in that predicament so they could perform at the level so it can advance the game of basketball. That's like if I just sat here and said if we had a rule in the NBA right now that said only U.S. born players can play in the NBA, no foreign players. All the influence that foreign players have had in the NBA for several years now, decades and decades. For me to just act as if like that's not a thing would be discrediting any player that could have came into the NBA and helped progress. It would be disrespectful for me not to acknowledge that I would be denying someone like Dirk Nowitzki a spot in the NBA, or denying Giannis, Hakeem, Luka, Steve Nash, all these players, Ginobili, all of these players who have had massive amount of influence. So to deny the fact that it was either impossible or the hurdles that black people had to overcome to play in the NBA, to deny that is a bit ridiculous. And to not to acknowledge that because of those hurdles, that the talent pool in the NBA, even at a point in time where it was already fairly shallow, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That is ridiculous to deny that fact. So, yes, guys, it is true. Bob Cousy played against plumbers. It's not really shouldn't be a knock. It's a fact. He played against plumbers. Players back then did not take the game of basketball as serious as they do now. They don't. They just don't. There's no there's no there's no denying that. So they couldn't even reach their proper potential that they could have even in that era. They did not exhaust all of their resources even in that era. They didn't. The ceiling in which they were hitting wasn't necessarily because of lack of resources. It was because they themselves did not take the game of basketball serious as they do now, and they were not allowing black people at a large number to come play into the NBA. But even when they did, bro, players in the 60s, players in the 70s, the average players in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, is not as good as the players are that they are in today's game, which is okay. That's how evolution works. That is fine. It's actually to applaud. It should be to applaud the 60s and 70s players because of their innovation and their pushing the game forward. It allowed us to get to where we are now. If there was lack of evolution, that actually means that the players of yesteryear did a bad job. If the NBA stayed stagnant in the way that we played basketball was the exact same of how it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and whatever, if it was the exact same, or even if it had regressed, that means that the players before where we are today did something wrong. That means they did something wrong. So the fact that we are where we are now means that there was somebody before where we are now who was willing and able to innovate to help us get to where we are today. Nigga, if there were no street lights, that means that niggas before us weren't able to get to the point where they understood how to actually, they didn't understand electricity, nigga. So somebody before us did something wrong. But because of them doing what they did right, we now live a better life than the people before us did. But it needs to be understood that we live better than what they did before us. Not that difficult of a concept, people. Not that difficult. Not that difficult at all. Why people keep fighting this, I don't know. It's a very simple concept. But if you are somebody who is older who gets offended by that logic, I'm sorry, you're just dumb. You're dumb. Because that doesn't make any sense. You innovate to progress. You don't innovate to take credit and allow the shit to regress. That defeats the whole purpose of innovating. You innovate to progress. So the next set of people behind you can be better than what you were. That's it. That's it. Um, I guess if people want to come up. Jeez, boy. Uh, oh shit, somebody behind me. I'm not gonna spend too much time because I feel like there really shouldn't be that much of a rebuttal. I'm be honest with you. Yo, 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 yo.
Yo, what's up, low man? Low,
What up?
what's
What up? What up?
up? Nah, you spitting
What
right
up?
now.
What up? What up?
That shit is crazy, bro. Like, you got to put the historical context behind everything. If you ask me, it's crazy how much slander everybody gets nowadays, and then it's like we just coddle everybody else. It's crazy.
It makes no sense at all, bro.
Yo, Lo, I tweeted at you, bro. There's this good video that it's like Hoop Vision, and they broke down the eras of like every decade, and it's just crazy how people like want to say how like those players like Bob Cousy and everything are like still good now, but you could just actually see like I don't think many people have watched like an '80s or '70s game and been like, oh yeah, those guys can like actually play in today's era. Like just watch a whole game. Like
And
they
and
have
they're
games like
readily
'80s and
available too.
'70s games on YouTube.
They're readily available too. It's
Yeah.
actually not that difficult. You can just go watch. It's not that difficult.
No, yeah, you could like easily like Google one of those like games or YouTube them, and you could like actually watch them. Like these people are talking, have never actually watched the whole game, and tell me that like these players are much better. Like you got like the centers and the power forwards that can't shoot free throws. Like obviously there's some players now that still can't shoot free throws, but like they literally like cannot shoot outside of 5 feet. Like no
It,
forms, no ball handles, anything. Like it's
it's really
crazy.
what Bo was saying. It's like the progression of the game. Like, you can even just look at the position of five, for example. It's
Yeah,
become versatile, and people have become so good at the game because they're able to put that much time into the game. It's really just, to me, it's common sense. It's crazy that people don't grasp that. Like, there's a reason why they were plumbers and they were firefighters. The NBA did not have enough money in order to fund their entire life. So in order to push things forward, they had to take part-time jobs so they could still play ball. There's nothing wrong with that. But to deny that or to like use that against someone who plays full time is just like, what do you mean? Like, how is that possible? If someone's full time at something, they're going to be better. And then on top of that, you're playing against what, 8, 12 teams? That's crazy. You can get to the finals
Right.
like that, and like and like Lo said, Bob Cousy still couldn't do it. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, that Magdal Russo interview pissed me off when I watched it because I'm just like, bro, this like, how much basketball do you really watch? Like, do you really understand? And you could tell there's like a feign of ignorance there because you don't, like, me personally, I think of the 1950s as segregation ball, no cap. That's how I think about it
it
because
literally
the
was,
talent
bro.
you have. Look at the amount of talent you have. Look at the amount of people who could not play, and then look what happened as soon as you start playing. Look at Bill Russell. How many does Bill Russell have? If you we knock him sometimes for that. Oh, he has too many rings. Look at what happened for him to get there,
Bro,
and what he
if you
put
just
on for
look at
us.
if you look at the leap that the NBA, just comparing the NBA from like 57, I believe, 57, 58 to like 62. It is nearly the equivalent. It's actually crazy, but it's nearly the equivalent. The amount of change that happened in the NBA is like nearly the same equivalent to what we just witnessed like 5 years, 5 or 7 years ourselves, where like the 3 point boom happened. And the
Yeah,
only way that you could describe the difference between like 58 to 62 is the abundance of black people who came in the NBA. That is like quite literally the only way to describe what happened. But nobody just go look at the field goal percentages, go look at the points that were scored, numbers across the board. Just go look at them. Go look at what it took to average to lead the league in points, rebounds, and assists. Go look at it, and all of them are not just up by like. Well, rebounding might not be as up as much, but for sure, points and assists. It's not like it's up by like point 0.5 or 1 or 2. No, Bob Cousy was like getting away with averaging 7, 8 assists to lead the league in assists. And as soon as Oscar Robertson comes in, he's averaging like 10 plus every year to lead the league. Like it's so drastically different.
Bro, I was literally getting cooked because people mentioned since yesterday because I said Bob Cousy wasn't that good, and people are because Jerry West want to say something about JJ Redick saying something about plumbers and firemen. Now they want to be on the oh yeah I'm pro Bob Cousy when Bob Cousy wasn't that good. It's just that simple. He was not that good even relative to his own era. Like the nigga was inefficient. He only had those stats and like he was a 13-time assist champion. 12 teams. People are like it was like a 13 league. He had a bunch of competition. The best players available were there. The best players available in the 50s couldn't even get drafted. Like it was a
yeah, it's just
segregation
the
ball.
old heads, bro.
They
Just the
they did
old
they
heads,
did it.
man.
No, it's young people saying this.
Oh,
It's
really?
young people
Oh, well,
saying this. This is
they
crazy.
haven't watched. They haven't watched
They're only
that.
saying it because Jerry West said something. Like they don't know not like Bob Cousy literally did not the competition he was playing wasn't even the best available because they wouldn't draft players based on their race.
I
And then
one thing. Oh, my fault. If you want to load,
I
but I just want
let me just
to
say
say
real
like,
quick, just quickly.
yeah,
Even
I
even
did.
the MVP that Bob Cousy won, right? Even the MVP that he won. It's not a coincidence that he won that MVP. Um, the same year that Bill Russell was his rookie season. And the difference between Bill Russell being there and not being there is literally the difference of them winning more games, being at the top of their conference, and going on to winning a championship. By the logic that we use in today's game, it was very much so clear that Bill Russell was was more valuable than Bob Cousy was. But remember, at
Right.
the time, who was voting for the award? Players. A league full of players who have been conditioned to believe that it should only be an all whites league anyway. So you want me to believe that a bunch of players who are in the
Eli
league,
spamming my shit, bro. You gotta bring him up.
you want me all right, you want me to believe that a league that's full of players who has already been conditioned to believe it should only be white people playing anyway, is then going to have the awareness and be progressive enough to vote for a black man for MVP. Okay. But these are
Yeah.
conversations that nobody wants to have.
I feel like the thing
And it's
with
clear Bill Russell is the one who like revolutionized like bro like Bill Russell
It,
should get way more
it's
credit for
it's
what he
it's
did for the
very
game,
it's
bro.
it's very clear. It's not
yeah,
even close. It's undeniable that Bill Russell
Like
is more
the
valuable, more
idea that Bob
impactful,
Cousy,
way more.
yeah, bro. The idea that Bob Cousy, because he racked up 13 All Star appearances and had multiple assists and was a Finals contender because he was on the Celtics. Like a lot of that is literally just because one, the league was far less evolved as it is now. It wasn't like I said earlier, the best players weren't available, um, and we just know and then Bill Russell came to the team. That's why he made the finals a lot. Like it's not like Bob Cousy was this revolutionary player. Like saying Jerry West's ass is different than saying Bob Cousy's ass. Jerry West literally was like a great
Nah,
player
Jerry West is
in
honestly,
that
crazy.
time.
I think what we should be saying when we talk about Bob Cousy is the fact that he took initiative and he was okay receiving slander for playing with a colored person at the time. Because like we would all be lying if he didn't get a lot of shit for that.
Isn't
So
he
that I
racist?
feel like that's Bro,
He's
if he
like a
play,
literal
like,
Trump supporter, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
I feel like if there's any notion that I'll give
He was a
people are looking
dickhead
down.
to him. Bill wrote in a book that he was a dickhead.
Bro, I didn't even know that Bill Russell never had a Finals MVP. That's crazy.
Bob Cousy didn't even.
Why do you think it's named after him, nigga? It wasn't a award back then.
That's crazy.
Idiot. That's funny.
Hey,
But
can
yeah,
I
bro.
jump in here on a micro level?
Cousy
If
sucks
you
though,
guys
bro.
don't mind.
He's like so
Bro,
bad.
Eli, Drew literally tried to ratio, like Drew
I
ratioed
mean,
me because I said
he
Bob
was
Cousy was ass.
you did say he was worse than JJ Redick relative to era.
No,
Like
no,
that's
no, no,
not
no.
true.
Okay.
Nigga. Come on, bro.
I was okay. One, I was being dramatic. I don't really care who's better. They're both mid. Well, I was saying though,
Nah, Cousy was like at least all-star.
saying that Bob Cousy was mid, bro. That's my point. I wasn't trying to. I don't really care if you think JJ. That doesn't matter to me. I was just saying Bob
I
Cousy
mean, that is
is
what
not
you
as good as
said
people
though,
think he
nigga.
is.
Like whether it matters or
No,
not,
no,
that is why the nigga ratioed you. Like
no. But no, he's saying it's a bunch of
It's
niggas
called context.
and other replies right that where I added context. That are trying to say Bob Cousy was this player, like trying to act like Bob Cousy was like
he
so
was like
good.
okay,
He's a
nigga.
13-time All-Star. He's a contender. He's a finals. Like he has multiple finals appearances. Like people are bringing up these stats, but they're not even adding the context to the stats. Like
You
Bob
said he
Cousy was not that
wasn't
good.
good relative to his era, nigga. Like that's
He
dumb.
He
wasn't.
wasn't.
He
He
wasn't.
wasn't.
He was old. He was like an all-star level player, clearly, nigga.
Nigga,
Like
it was only it was
But
12 in
what
a
is
pool of
good? What
in a
is
Bro shot
pool of
like
but
no,
35
38
wait,
players.
nigga,
field
you're
goal
not
percentage,
in
bro.
the
In a pool of
career,
35
bro.
players,
let me,
he's
let me
good,
be
bro.
the
He's
reason.
not
The
good
Nigga,
reason.
you
relative to his
can't
own
do
era.
that. Wait,
He's not even a good
Trey.
player in the 50s or 60s, bro. He's not even good.
He shot below average.
Bro, okay, obviously efficiency isn't the only fucking thing we talk about when we're talking about basketball. And no, his true shooting percentage wasn't below league average. And also, Trey,
It
like
was.
it was like his true shooting plus was like 101 for most of his career. It was like close to league average.
No,
Some
it
years it
was
went.
not. It was below league
This
average,
nigga's-
Eli.
And what years?
Just go through the 50 years.
All
You'll
of them.
see.
I can pull it up. He was okay.
Me
But the
saying
point.
he was an ass in his era is not
You
But
should
fair.
have
the
just
point.
said you just
Huh?
said you should have just said that his accolades overstate how good he was, which everyone would agree. But saying he wasn't good at relative to
He
that time is
wasn't
I
good
don't.
relative to that time. He wasn't
I'm
because
still.
even
I'm
the
still
best
gonna say
players
that
weren't
because
available.
I'm gonna say that
also
exactly because
yeah,
all
Lo,
the
you
players that were
in
available,
his
all the
prime
players
you
that were
lied. He didn't have a
available weren't
single
what you
year of
call
below
it.
league average true shooting percentage.
Like
And
Eli
that's the argument. He
but
played in the
Eli
50s. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
to
that should be the argument. He played
read
in
the
the
first
50s,
part
right? And it
to read the first part of what I said and not like read the end where I clearly state that like it was due like he was not one of the best players because like one of the reasons was because the best players were not available is crazy. Because I
and
literally
I
clarified
understand
that it was because
I
of the climb in the
understand that.
league. He was not one, and even
I
in the
understand.
league though, he wasn't one of the best players. Like, come
bro
on now.
bro and like I don't have film for these years, right? So I'm not even gonna like get into it, but like I mean like once like Oscar and like Jerry came, the nigga was like mid compared to them, right? But like relative to the ass niggas that he was playing with, like that statement is false, but it doesn't matter. It's not even that. Also, Lo, you lied. Like in his prime he was around league average. He
What is his prime?
like
You talking about like a year or two, Eli?
his prime, no, bro. His prime is like basically from like 53 to like 56, 57.
Like
He was
against
like
the Slumbers,
before
right?
Bill came.
Okay. I'm talking about all throughout the 50s, Eli. Not a
Yeah,
three, not
there
a
was only
3 year
one
span.
year there was 1 year in the 50s where he was below league average.
No,
It was his
Eli.
rookie year.
Jesus, boy.
Hey,
I'm
can
not
I
gonna
jump
lie.
in
Damn,
here,
so
Legend? If you
Somebody
don't mind.
dribbling with
nigga
the
was
back of
just
their
talking
hand.
out
We
his
can't take him
ass, well,
serious.
I kind of want to expand on your point, if you don't mind, Legend. Is that fine? Can I? If you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, go.
Yeah. I just want to expand the pool of how we rate these players because I think. But by the way, I agree with Legend. Like literally 99% of what he's saying. I think for being in the black population who understood how the game should be played, quote unquote, with the flash, whatever, it doesn't matter, was better. It was more entertaining. It was better. It was more efficient. And what we're seeing here is what makes people uncomfortable. We're seeing us expand a U.S. game to a global game. We're seeing them expand to somebody like Jokic, whatever, whatever we think about him, people were complaining about him going to back to
Jokic.
his farm in his home country celebrating, which is hilarious. The idea here, though, is just think about it in a macro level. Everybody is equal. You give everybody the equal opportunity to expand in this game, and you start seeing people like Jokic, Luka doing better because they could play the game. And this is what Legend is saying. Before it was a U.S.
Nigga,
game,
who is
you gave the
disagreeing?
opportunity.
And
Hey,
that's
Eli,
not
I
what
let
he's
you
saying.
speak, right? Hey
He's
Eli, I
talking
let you.
about
All right,
literal
let me speak.
segregation,
Hey
nigga.
Eli,
Like
I let you speak. Let me speak. All right. Thank you.
he's not talking about Luca though, nigga. He's talking about black people. Like
No,
what the fuck?
exact. No, but no, that's not true.
You're not
He's
listening
talking
to what
about
he's
the
saying, though.
NBA is better than
Uh
any
huh.
other era. He's not saying
For sure.
black people are better than any era. It's dominated by them. By the way, I'm the biggest Kobe fan, so I'm gonna
Uh huh.
unapologetically say he's the goat. Don't matter there. That's not that is
All
not what
right,
Legend
man.
is saying. No, because this matters. We're all the same people, and this is the point.
Mhm.
Legend saying that point black people were discriminated 100%. It was horrible.
Mhm.
You let him in, the fucking game expanded. You know why? Because y'all had it. Y'all were the thing. But once you expand globally and you let people in
Nigga, how
here
you know I'm black?
unapologetically, this is what happens. And this is where the conversation becomes a little bit tricky. Just think about it. You're having people who actually have the skills. I'll give you one example. Eli, by the way, I'm going to go straight at you right here. Let me have you respond. Arvidas
I never
Sabonis.
disagreed with what you're saying though. So like,
Okay, cool. Oh, perfect. No, I guess I'm not going at you. I'm just gonna expound on your point. Arvidas Sabonis, there was a foreign bias. This dude should have been a Hall of Famer, and he wasn't because of the foreign. That's what I love about the NBA. By the way, I'm Mexican American, first generation. Hello, hey Rock, I see you right over there laughing. You know who I am. I'm friends with Rock. But my point here is this is why the NBA is so great for people who are. I'm brown, y'all black, but
right?
yeah, I feel you. I grew up in Compton,
No, that's
right next to
crazy. That's
Compton.
crazy.
All
But
right,
I
bro.
love
This
I'm
it.
zoning.
crazy.
No, no, but
I'm
this is
zoning
great.
out, bro.
Nigga call
I'm
me
zoning
black.
out, bro. I'm zoning out, bro. I can't
Yo,
do it.
Lo.
I'm sorry. I tried. I
Yo,
Lo.
tried
I
not
come
to
at me
break
now too.
stereotypes.
I see you. No, but the point is here. I think this is what Legend is saying though: is the more you expound, the bigger you make the circle, the more complicated it becomes, and it's very complicated because now you're seeing people like Jokic, Luca, and by the way, I agree. I do agree that Luca and Jokic have a privilege in the NBA space. You know why? Because they want to find the next great white hope. But what's interesting about that is years prior, the Great White Hope did not include foreigners. And this is why I think that the NBA is a trailblazing league. And this is why it matters. I'll leave it back to Legend. And that's all I wanted to add. I think that's actually really cool.
Let me clarify the Bob Cousy efficiency thing. So yeah, Eli from 57 to 50, 52, excuse me, 52 to 57. Bob Cousy is either like right around league average or slightly above league average.
That's what I
However,
said.
I know I'm clarifying. However, he ended his career with a true shooting that was below league average. League average true shooting was 45.5%. His career true shooting was 47. I mean, excuse me, 44.7%.
Yeah,
So
he sucked.
okay. So again, he's inefficient.
Yeah,
A
I'm just saying, like in his prime, like
Yo,
you know.
Lo. You can bring my boy
What
T up
what
here.
Eli I mean not Eli what Trey and I are saying is that it's hard for us to claim that even in his own era he was a good player or as great as even as it seemed to be. Because if there is a whole race of men that cannot play in the NBA or are not accepted to play in the NBA, then it would be almost as if like I'm saying now Kevin Durant is the best player in the league while partly ignoring the fact that I know that Giannis, Luka, and Embiid exist in the world. But I'm willing to say that this nigga is the best. Even though I know for a fact that there's other players that exist that are clearly better than this man. And that's exactly what they knew back then, which is why players like Wilt Chamberlain played in a fucking played in what's the shit called, a globe, he was a globetrotter before he came in the
He was
NBA.
the
So they
Harlem
knew
Globetrotter.
they knew for a fact that black players were in the NBA they existed and they were leaps and bounds better than the competition that was in the league. So it's hard for me to say that even relative to the All Stars and him he did lead the league in assists. And I get what you're saying, Eli. But what Trey is saying is that it's hard for us to acknowledge. Oh my God! I just run over that bird. Oh my God! It's hard
Yo,
for it.
what?
I
Yo,
thought I thought
what?
I thought the nigga was gonna start flying, but he didn't fly. It was
Yo,
going
no,
on.
no, no.
No. I think that you guys are falling for the JJ Redick trick. Can I say something here? You guys are falling for the JJ Redick trick. He's trying to compare himself as a white man who can shoot to the era of the 50s. You're falling for the wrong trick. This isn't nuanced. Like he's not that good. Was right. Just think about it. Why would you even? This is why I think Jerry West is right. why would you even fall for that trick? It doesn't make any sense.
If
It
I'm
doesn't.
if I'm Jerry
Yeah,
West, I
I
feel
agree.
the same.
I don't think if
If
JJ
I'm
Redick,
Jerry
I don't,
West,
but I
I
don't think
feel
he
like
was
if I
saying that
grew up
though.
when JJ did,
I don't think
I'm
he was saying
getting
that.
way more buckets
Exactly.
than him.
Yeah, I would feel the same way. Yeah.
But that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that, bro, like back then, I understand what you're saying, Eli, compared to the competition, but it'd be an asterisk on that competition because they all knew that those are not the best players that were
I don't think you
available.
should. I don't think like basketball before 57 should be talked about because of that. But it's whatever.
Segregation ball.
Yeah, like when
It's called that for a
when
reason.
I get what Jerry's saying in terms of like like it'd be disrespectful, but I mean like what JJ said is not far from the truth. It just sounds disrespectful because like plumbers and firemen playing basketball, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not a high level thing even today. So you know what I'm saying? Like it sounds disrespectful, but what JJ said is not far from the truth. So if we can acknowledge that's the truth,
It
why are
is
people
the
now
truth.
acting
What do
like
you mean
no?
far?
But
Like
no,
they
if
were
we can,
actually plumbing.
if we acknowledge that is the truth,
But it's
right?
just the way he said it,
And
bro. Like
no,
if
wait,
I'm
but this is no. Let me land because this is an old thing JJ said. I believe JJ said this like a month or two ago. So like now that Jerry West is bringing it back up, obviously Jerry West, who played in a like couple years after what JJ is talking about, he's gonna have an opinion about that. He should have an opinion about that. However, people are now flip flopping because Jerry West said something about it when a couple months ago people were agreeing with him.
all
Like
I'm gonna say is if
that's
I'm
weird.
Jerry West, right? I'm
You
Jerry
ain't
West.
wrong.
Jerry West when Jerry West played is probably more athletic than like JJ. Even like not even just relative to era. Just like and I love JJ. JJ is a dookie. I love all my dookies. But like
What?
if I'm Jerry, he went to Duke.
That's a
That's a
Obviously,
crazy
that's
turn.
what I'm
name.
doing.
I know, but the way you said it is
Whoa.
crazy.
But if I'm Jerry West, right? Of course I'm gonna feel some type of way, bro. I'm getting way more buckets if I grew up in the same time as you, JJ. You are not him. That's how I'm feeling.
But
Like
that's the other part of it where everybody's taking out of context because Jerry West, I mean not Jerry West, JJ Redick in this statement said that he said average player as well. Everybody's
Yeah.
misrepresenting what people are saying. He said the average player because even when Mad Dog Russo said, "What you don't think Larry Bird can come here?" Like, no, that's not what he said. He said the average player.
Also, comparing Larry Bird to a 50s player is so disrespectful to Larry Bird. So insane.
Yeah, it is facts.
So even when JJ Redick was explaining himself, there's still context that is being removed from him just so everybody's trying to tailor making this argument to make it seem like something that it is not. It's not what people are trying to make it out to be. People are being offended by things that he didn't even say. He literally said the average player. And when given an example, no response of what about Larry Bird, he agreed that Larry Bird will be fine in today's game. But he said the average player. And there should not be any pushback on that because that is an irrefutable fact. Now, again, I don't agree with the concept of comparing cross errors, comparing that. But if you do that, you cannot deny the irrefutable fact that players are just better today.
I don't even think Jerry West should be talking. The dude's like 1-8 in the finals, or 1 for 9 or something. Like,
Face ass.
Oh, that's ignorant. You can't say that.